Hello, I'm so glad you could join us today. My name is Ruth Lomax, and it is my privilege to be a storyteller in the midst of this godly playroom that is full of stories. I trust whether you're watching this on your own or with other members in your household, there are lots of stories where you are as well. This weekend, we're going to be celebrating something special in worship. It's a Sunday called Worldwide Communion. And so we remember that even though we feel a little bit isolated when we are separated by camera and online and not able to gather in person, there are people of the Christian faith around the world who celebrate communion on this first Sunday in October. And we remember that we are part of a story that is so much larger than anything we see or know now. But I wonder what you need to help you get ready for today, to be able to settle into this time and place together. You might want to find a candle to light, whether that's a battery candle or a flame candle. You might want to find some things for your response time later, some art materials. Almost anything around the house will do. It's what calls to you. Not so much that we're trying to create the next Van Gogh exhibit, but that we use the art materials and we let them work through us to deepen our relationship with the Holy. You might also want to find something for feast a little bit later. Again, it doesn't have to be elaborate. Just perhaps a glass of water and whatever snack you might have around the house. It is the quality of the company, not so much the food, that creates a feast, and the fact that we're able to share it together. Know that you can pause this video at any time if you need a bathroom break or a stretch, or you just need to settle a little bit more deeply on your own. I would invite you, though, if you're able, to set aside time for the whole space, the whole story and wondering and process that goes with it. There's something about pausing in our busy lives in an intentional way that invites us to listen for the Spirit's movement deep within. So let's just take a few deep breaths together. It has been such a gift these past few weeks to enjoy some beautiful sunshine. Oh, a loud and intense thunderstorm with the rain, and those cooler mornings. We are reminded that this time of year of what a gift light is as it gets less and less. But the colors in the morning and at sunset are quite exquisite. And so we give thanks for that time. We remember that once there was someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people began to follow him. And the more they followed him, the more they wondered who he was. And so one time they just had to ask, "Who are you?" And one time when they asked him that question, he said, "I'm the light." And the light shines within us and hopefully through us. I'm going to put the candle back on the shelf though, so that it doesn't get in the way of our story. Ah, did you notice? We are still in that season of creation, the time of the color orange. But it's drawing to a close in this week and the next week. And then we are back into those other green and growing Sundays. Today's story is a Godly Play story, and it's copyrighted but used with permission. It's a big story. So watch where I go to get it, so that when you're in this room, you'll be able to find it. Watch with your eyes. I don't see it on the sacred story shelves, although there is the story there about a king who began as a shepherd. And there is a story of a different kind of feasting. And we hear a little bit more about that shepherd king in the story of the Psalms. But I don't see the story on the sacred story shelf for the New Testament story either, although those stories tell us a great deal more about the one who said and did such amazing things. There is a parable about the Good Shepherd. I wonder if you remember which box it's in. I'll give you a hint. It's got a green circle on it. Oh, perhaps the story was very close to us all the time. Are you ready? Once, there was someone who said such amazing things and did such wonderful things that people began to follow him. And the more they followed him, the more they wondered who he was. And so one time they just had to ask, "Who are you?" And one time, when they asked him that question, he said, "I am the Good Shepherd. I know each of my sheep by name. They know the sound of my voice. And when I call them from the sheepfold, they follow me. I go before them to show them the way. I show them the way to the good green grass. This is the table of the Good Shepherd. Here's the plate for the bread and the cup for the fruit of the vine. Sometimes people put other things on the table of the Good Shepherd to remind them. But the Good Shepherd is always present whenever we share in the bread or the cup. Sometimes someone else comes to say the words of the Good Shepherd. Sometimes the peoples of the world come to this table. And of course, the children come too. I wonder if you've ever come close to a table like this. I wonder if the people around the table are happy, or what it feels like to be gathered there, creatures and people alike. I wonder if you've ever come close to the bread or the cup. I wonder what this table could really be. I wonder what it would take for our community of faith to look like this. I wonder if you've ever heard the Good Shepherd call your name. Or how do you recognize the Good Shepherd calling you? I'm going to put the story away. You might want to pause the video if there are still some wondering questions that you have or would like to talk over with people in your household. Or maybe you need to take some time to find your art materials. We'll get the story put away and then we'll get set up for some response. So, we'll start by putting the people away. There are a lot of them. People from all over the world, all different shapes and colors. Sometimes we forget just how different people can be. And all the children. I wonder what it would take for all the children in the world to come to a place where they weren't hungry anymore. We're coming up on World Food Sunday in a couple of weeks. And some of the things I've been reading about how many children go to bed hungry every night, not just around the world, but here in Canada, even in Alberta. It's very sad. Sometimes someone else comes to say the words of the Good Shepherd. I get to do that every now and then. And it is one of the greatest gifts and graces in my ministry. And the plate for the bread that is sometimes called a paten. That's a different kind of word. And the chalice is what we call the cup or the goblet that we use for the communion, whether it's wine or juice. The United Church tends to use juice, but many traditions use wine. Some kind of fruit of the vine. And then there are all the creatures, those sheep that gathered in. And the Good Shepherd. This is a tricky story to move, so I tend to lie the Good Shepherd down either on the circle or separately until I get everything moved. People of the world, the table of the Good Shepherd. And the sheepfold with all the sheep. That's right, the Good Shepherd. I'm going to get my art materials ready. Whenever you're ready, come on back. So, I found a jar with some pencil crayons. Most houses have pencil crayons in them. I also found the watercolor crayons, which are some of my favorite things to work with. They're a little harder to find now, but you can find watercolor pencil crayons now. Sometimes even watercolor pastels. And the beauty of them is that you can use them like a regular crayon, or you can dip them in water and get a different color. Or you can spread the water on your paper and then work with them either with your finger or the crayon nib or a paintbrush to get yet another shade and texture. And I have some water and my cleanup cloth, which is always a good thing, and a couple of paintbrushes. This one's kind of fun. It's like a fan tip and it lets you put stripes almost, or a little bit lighter touch. This one's a little bit stiffer. It's good for doing a wash, which is what they call it when you put water onto your page. It's not as big as the wash I sometimes use when I'm painting on my own, but it'll work for today, just to be able to mix some of the colors a little. So I was thinking actually about names, about the Good Shepherd calling us by name and knowing each of our names. And my name is Ruth. That's a biblical kind of a name. I think there's a whole book in the Bible about it, and a story that goes with it. Names have different meanings. When I was growing up, people told me that Ruth meant loyalty or a good friend, which I think is just more like, well, that's kind of the character of the character Ruth in the Bible story. I'm not sure it's actually the case. But sometimes, over the years, I lose sight of the name that God calls me. I think God calls each of us beloved? And then there are all the other names that other people call us. So I am a daughter and a sister. And I am a spouse and a mom. And now I'm even a grandmom. Oh, I forgot. I can let the color run. Just sometimes kind of fun. Oh, and what else? We are also a minister. And a musician. And a storyteller. And a photographer. In this past year, I became a technician. I've been a carpenter and a courier and a farmer and a retail sales clerk and a seamstress and an actress. Lots of different names that describe who I am, or maybe some of what I am. But always, always, I try to remember the name the Good Shepherd calls, beloved. I wonder what the significance of your name is. Maybe there are stories about how you got your name. My brothers got to pick my middle name, which is Anne with an E. And my dad picked the name Ruth. I'm named after a woman who was part of their congregation at one time, who enjoyed working with kids and spent a lot of time volunteering. I didn't always like my name, but I've become a little more fond of it over the years. It sounds different when people who care about me call me by name. I wonder what other names you have. And I hope there are more names that give you life and delight than names that are hurtful. Because sometimes the names that we choose or are chosen for ourselves get overlaid with some of those hurtful things that people say. I'm too short. I'm too fat. I'm not smart enough. I got called the preacher's kid a lot growing up, and that meant I didn't always have very many friends. Goody Two-Shoes was another name I got called. Sometimes we have to remind ourselves that the Good Shepherd knows each of us by name. Beloved. I wonder what you will create in response to this story. Or what response the Good Shepherd might be calling forth from you. I didn't make very much mess today, which is kind of amazing. I'm going to put the story, these materials, away. You can clean up your mess, pause the video if you need to, and we'll get ready for our feast time. So welcome back. Oh, before we feast, let's offer some gratitude out to the universe. I wonder what you're thankful for this week. I've been especially thankful for the beautiful weather, for the little flocks of birds that are moving through on their migration south. I was very thankful to hear that my brother got to go and spend some time at our cottage at the lake and to see some of those beautiful fall pictures from a place that I love very much. But I also am a little sad. Someone in our extended family died this past week, one of my aunts. And I haven't been able to see her for a long time. She lives in Ontario. And she died from COVID. One of those seniors who is already double vaxxed, in care, but not entirely safe. And so I'm sad for her and for her family, but for so many other people who are grieving the death of loved ones, friends and family, neighbors, co-workers. Holy One, be with us all, in our joy and in our sorrow. Grace us with healing beauty. Call us by name, that we might know your peace and your guidance with whatever this coming week holds. Amen. If you want to pause the video and offer your prayers, feel free to do that. You might sing them or say them or offer them in silence. If you're doing them with other folks in your household, if you simply say Amen whenever you're finished, then they'll know it's their turn. And when you're ready, let's feast. Have some of these crunchy grapes again. They're so juicy, crisp. I think we're pretty lucky to have so much food to choose from in the grocery stores, farmers markets, and the gardens, and the farmers are all busy bringing in all that abundance at this time of year. We might say a little extra prayer for them too. Sometimes names can be quite funny. I don't know if you've ever looked in a plant book. They have all kinds of odd names for things. Maybe you've even noticed some names on signs around town as we've moved from a federal election and now into a municipal election. So lots of people putting their name out there and hoping you'll call for it when it comes time to vote. I wonder what kind of name we would like Wetaskiwin to be known by. And not just the cars cost less in Wetaskiwin slogan, but something else. Might be a good question to ask some of those folks who are running for public office. What kind of community are they willing to be part of or help create? Would it be a community where everybody is welcome at the table? Or just a few? And what kind of names would they call the other folks who live alongside us? Neighbor? Stranger? Well, we come to the end of yet another Godly Play story. And I'm a little excited because over the next few weeks, you're going to hear a story from somebody besides me. I think Jackie's going to be in the room and Sherry's going to be in the room. And that will be so good. Both for them to tell a story, but especially for you to see folks that you know and care about. And to be reminded that we are all storytellers. We all bear the loving name of our Creator. I'm going to set my feast things aside so we can change the light. Our candle is getting very short. I don't know if it's going to make it all the way to Advent. The wick is even shorter. It's trying to change all by itself. So watch what happens when we change the light. That it's not just in this one place or time. That it can spread out and be in many places. It will even find its way to wherever you are. And if you have a candle and change the light, I know that light will make it here. Watch what happens. Not yet. It might be small, but I think it's mighty. Nope. It got invisible very quickly. I wonder where you'll come close to the light this week. Well, until we see one another again, God bless. Be safe and look after one another.